Welcome to another episode of Paranormal, the New Normal. I'm your host, Jeremy, as always, here to try to bring a little normalcy to this world on this planet we call the Earth. But, does it ever happen? No, because this world's not normal and it's not going to be. And I prefer it that way, personally, but that's me. But, of course, I brought a guest to try to help me bring some normalcy. And my guest today is Linda Deir, spirit guide, author, coach, and so much more. But we're going to get into all that in a few minutes. First things first. How you doing tonight, Linda?
I'm doing great, Jeremy.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. And thank you for coming on the show. It's always appreciated. And the first question I ask everybody is, what got you into the spiritual paranormal world? What brought you down this path?
It started from the time I was born. Actually, the first thing I remember that was the most obvious, in fact, first contact. I've had two physical first contacts from my guides in my life that were where they materialized right in front of me. And the first one happened when I was 20 months old. And it was when my mom was cruel, and she hated me. And I really mean that. She hated me literally. And I didn't even understand all this until I hit my 50s. And all the family secrets came screaming out of the closet. All right. I get into that a little bit later in my flagship book, Guided, that talks about all this. Anyway, at 20 months old, my mom, the routine was my dad goes to work. My mom makes his breakfast, off he goes, and then she starts going after me. And it was daily beatings from my mother. And this one day, 20 months old, I knew what was coming, and I just figured, hey, I can't take another day of this. And I ran away. I went out to the side gate and shook it like I watched my German Shepherd do. He'd hit the gate and it would pop open and he'd run away. So I saw him do that, and I shook the gate and it popped open and off I went. And the police, this was in Sacramento, California, found me walking down the median of the expressway, barefoot in diapers and a little baby snap-on shirt.
Yep.
And they picked me up and they said, where are you going, little girl? And I said, I'm going to find my daddy because something's wrong with my mommy. So they put me in their squad car. I hear you, dogs. They put me in their squad car and took me to the candy store and bribed me with candy so I would show them, point out, because I'm 20 months old. I didn't know how to tell them what streets are what. And to get me to tell them point out where I lived. And I wasn't very far from home. So I pointed out how to get back to my house. And they showed up at the front door, and my mom answered the door, and she acted, surprised, but she kept her composure, pretending that she was glad that they brought me home. As soon as they felt assured that I was in good hands, this was the 1950s, 1954.
Yeah.
And in those days, there was no child protective services. It was a family matter. Okay. And they brought me back, and here's your kid, And my mom, after they left, she drugged me inside and she beat me unconscious. I woke up on the floor in a puddle of water, which I can only imagine she probably threw a bucket of water on me to revive me, and left the room. And when I woke up, I found myself in this puddle of water back in this world. And I was shocked that I was back here. I thought I was dead. Now at 20 months old, it doesn't feel like dying. It feels like escaping this hostile environment. It felt like a way out. It didn't feel like people think about dying like it's terrible, It's nothing like that. I thought I was free from this, and I wake up back in this world. And I at a last-ditch resort, I was paralyzed with fear. I didn't know what to do now. I was in total shock that I was still here. And I called out loud for someone to help me. Although I didn't know who I was asking, there was no one around. I just said, someone help me. And they showed up all around me. And I'll show you a picture of what they look like. They're on the front cover of my book, Guided. And that's what they look like. They're actually light beings. I call them spirit guides and angels because most people don't understand what a light being really is. But that's what they look like. And they were in numbers all around me. And all they did, they were about 7 foot tall. And they were light, just all around me. And in the instant that they showed up, I was completely relieved. They telepathically communicated with me about who I was and just told me all kinds of things that telepathically, as a 20-month-old baby, really, I remembered. I knew. I didn't have reason because I'm 20 months old, but I knew what felt right. And we all know that, by the way, when we're little, when we're brand new, we know our instincts are good. Our intuition is on. So they communicated to me all kinds of things about myself. And I was not in fear anymore. And the takeaway from all that was that this world is not all there is. That was the takeaway. I was no longer paralyzed by fear. The fear of being here, the fear of my mother, the fear of what she could do to me, because I knew this world was not all there was. I remembered where I came from. They showed me all this. So with that,
knock it off, you two.
with that, I moved into my life. And at that point, Jeremy, my life was never the same. I wasn't completely shocked and paralyzed by fear from my mom or anything. I was able to, I just say, keep my center, keep myself composed, calm down. These guides were very calm as they looked down at me in this puddle of water. They weren't worried about me at all. And when I saw that, when I felt that, when I recognized that, I had no doubt that this world, it would never do me in. Okay, really nothing to be afraid except that this was a lot of work. Mike Tyson, I'll use this example. Somebody did an interview of Mike Tyson, and they said, what would you tell your 20-year-old self if you could? And he's like, I don't know, 50 or something. He goes, 3 words. He said, it's going to hurt. and I'm telling you, everybody that comes into this life, it's not easy to be here.
No, it's not. Right, exactly, Moose. It's not easy to be here.
So that was my first physical encounter with my guides.
Well,
the second one happened.
Before you go to the second one, I just gotta say,
yeah,
that is one of the most horrific stories I've ever heard in my life, and I applaud you for being so strong, even as a 20-month-old, to get through it and push forward. I applaud it because it's just. I have a almost 6 and 8-year-old and a 9-year-old, and if they had to go through something like that at 20 months old, I would probably lose my mind and end up in jail for murdering somebody. Like that's literally what it would come down to. So
I know.
I am very protective of children because I have children, and even before that, my mom ran a daycare. I was around children my whole life. Yeah, Moose, I know, but I mean, it's just enough. It's just insane. Like that story is just such a heroic story, and I applaud you. But please tell us about your second encounter. I'm dying to hear it.
The second one, now that was 1954, April of 1954 to be exact. The cops came in, so there's all kinds of documentation about this. In 1994, how interesting is that? 40 years later, I would have been I was 42 when the next one happened. I was 20 months old when the first one happened. And it was Christmas time, and I showed up to California. I live in Arizona, and it was Christmas time, so I went to visit, my daughter and everybody. And everyone was in the living room, in the house, in the apartment. And I had my Nikon camera in hand. It was 1994, still film days, right? And I was taking pictures of the kids and the tree and everybody. And I turn around, and I just happened to be standing there. Everyone else was off over that way, and I'm standing there, and out of the TV comes the guide to project itself into the room, about 7 foot tall, lit the whole room up. You couldn't miss it. And I had my camera. I'm used to seeing them since I was a baby. And I caught their photograph. And I said to everyone in the room, "Did you guys see that?" And they said, like they always do, "Did I see what?" At that point, the conversation's over. There's no talking about it. And I thought, well, maybe I didn't see it. Of course, I knew I did. But when I got back from the trip and got the film developed, film days, there it was, right on top of all the pictures, which probably the people that developed the picture were looking at it going, "Holy cow, what's this?" And it was on top, right? Well, there it was. And I went, well, there it is. That's exactly what I saw. A couple of weeks later, they come to me in a dream. Well, I have these amazing dreams where they come to me all the time. And I asked them, I was lucid in the dream, and I said, "Why did you let me take your photograph this time? Since I've seen you since I was a baby." They said, "You're going to write a best-selling book about your relationship with us since you were a little girl. And we appeared so the world could believe it." And that's why they're on the front cover of the book, rightfully on the front cover.
Wow. That's all I can say to that is like, wow. I mean, of course, doing this show, I've heard stories similar to that before, but it's just, it never ceases to amaze. It never ceases to amaze me how these beings, whether they be light or dark, want themselves to be known. Like, that's the thing that drives me crazy, is how they want themselves to be known, but yet so many are out there that don't experience anything, even if they want to. Like, isn't that the strange thing? Like,
yeah,
those who want to see don't see.
Well, there's a lot that goes with that. It really has everything to do, from my experience, with your intention. And when your intention is solid, is what I guess I'd call it. It's well thought out. It's deliberate. It's intentional. It's 100% of your energy is with that one intention. When that happens, everything's possible. It doesn't matter what it is, whether you're summoning your spirit guides, whether you're intending to accomplish something in your life. Intention is everything. You could, let's say you have an intention where you just go, "Oh, I just want to show off to my friends that I have spirit guides. So come forth," something like that. They're going to know that you're jerking around, that you're not sincere, and your intention is not solid. It's not something that really you need. Okay. That's why they're there. They're here in this life, following us throughout our lifetimes, to help us through it, to help us accomplish what we came here to do.
Yeah, that makes sense. It does. And sorry if I went off camera for a minute. I had to put the dogs back in their cages because they're being too unruly for me to deal with. So hopefully they ate and drank, so hopefully they go to sleep. But well, let me ask you this: what religion were you brought up as? Because it was the 50s, so everybody had a religion of some kind.
I wasn't. That's interesting that you'd ask that. I was brought up an atheist. no religion. I had no background in any religion at all. I asked my dad one day, in fact, I said, Dad, do you believe in God? And he said, God helps those who helps themselves. He said, he goes, I go, do you believe in religion? He goes, in his world, by the way, he was groomed to be a priest up in Quebec, Canada. And he was going to be the hope for the family, and he literally ran away from them. He ran away from the whole family, got away from all of them because he didn't want to identify with that. He's seen that as far as he could see in religion, because he was Catholic, brought up in a Catholic church and all. He saw it as what is it when they say one thing and do another? Hypocrites. Yeah, and he saw it as hypocritical. And he said to me, he goes, you will find your own way. And I was okay with that. And now everyone in my school, they were almost all, Catholic and stuff like that. And they used to tease me like, you don't believe in God. I go, hey, I've never seen God. I don't know what that is. I don't know what you're talking about. It's not that I don't believe in it. I don't. Why would I blindly believe in something when I already had the experience of that? That's pretty hard to compete with, to me, this was real. Okay. But this thing where they just blindly believed in everything, everything. And I was like, I never understood that. So my whole way of operating was different right from the beginning of my life as a result of that first encounter.
That right there. I love that because I was brought up pure Christian Protestant, like we believe without knowing for sure anything's out there. We just believe because that's the way we're brought up for generations. And right. I almost wish I grew up the way you did because I would have questioned things a lot earlier than I did, and it wouldn't have just been the angsty teen trying to rebel by questioning everything he's taught type of thing. Like it would have been more thought out than just, I'm going to listen to Marilyn Manson and Iron Maiden and rebel against my parents. Like,
yeah, I understand that. Yeah. You're trying to get yourself back in any way you can beyond the programming.
Exactly. And unfortunately for a lot of teens, from the time you grew up to the time I grew up, even we were forced into religions our parents forced us into, and we had no choice on the matter. And just, that's just the way it goes. Like, and nowadays I'm agnostic. I don't like to say I'm atheist because there's got to be something out there.
Definitely. My God, yes.
Whether it's,
yeah. That's really what I learned, Jeremy. And how I learned it was bumping into it. The dreams I had, the encounters I had, the communication that was constantly coming through from those from other places. You could just call it that. The guidance I got. The name of my book is Guided. My whole life. That's the whole point. I've always been guided. So that's what I would call, I probably have more spiritual understanding than most people. Because I didn't have all that influence in my early life, like what you're talking about.
Exactly. You weren't blinded by the hypocrisy of you're going to believe in this no matter what. We can't prove it's real to you, but you're going to believe in it.
Oh, and my God. My husband grew up like that. My husband, he still battles with it. The programming and the anger that happens from that being pushed onto you. Yeah, that's where the rebellion kicks in. And I'll tell you what I did, Jeremy. I wrote the companion journal to Guided. This is the companion journal. This is how I walk them back through their life to solve what you explained, to heal what happened to them in their early life. That's why I wrote this. I teach people how to use this. This is a journal that takes them on this guided journey. In fact, on my website, the feature project on my website is called Guided Journey. And it took me 8 years to build this. I just finished it last year. And it's free to everyone. This is an amazing project. When I was done with it, I consulted with my guides and I said, well, what should we charge for this? 8 years. I mean, that took 8 years of my life. They said, we want it to be free to everyone. People are going to need this information in the coming years. And it's free to everyone. So it's called The Guided Journey. It's right there on at the top of every one of my pages and posts on my website. You just click it. It takes you right to the guided journey where there's a toggle, your professional life and all these options, and your personal life and all these options. And it's really spiritual solutions for mental wellness.
Which I agree with your guides. The world does need that nowadays because this world is getting harder and harder to live in by the day.
Totally.
I mean, the amount of shootings we've had this year already is just unbelievably harsh, and that's just one small part of this reality, and that's not even like the financial struggle and everything else. I mean, I personally, that's my struggle is financially, but I mean, luckily the government has helped me a little bit with that, but still, it's just, I don't know. I mean, I've had people on the show tell me that the next couple of years things are going to change in this world dramatically, and it might be for the worse, it might be for the better. Who knows? I mean, they can't tell. Their guides, their spirits, whoever they are talking to, can't tell them definitively what's going to happen, of course, and because nobody can. I mean, it's just we're gonna inflict our own doom, I believe. But so yeah, I mean, it's just a horrible time to be alive. I always said I wish I was born in the 50s. I mean, at least then I could have a full life and my kids could be grown by the time something bad happened. But
it still hurts your heart, though. You know,
sure.
I mean, once you get older, what happens is you realize that we're not here just for our families. We're really here to help humanity. We really are.
That's part of the reason why I started this show, is because I want humanity to see there's more to life than what we see. And that's what this show is about, is embracing the people who can see other parts of it, other parts of our reality through assistance or through themselves or any means they can. I will bring anyone on this show who can see a different side of reality than what I see. And that's the important thing. But let me ask you this, because like I told you pre-show, I have been looking at your website for here and there for a few days, and you help people with dreams. So what is the significance of dreams? Because I personally don't dream. I mean, blame it on the marijuana, blame it on what you want to blame it on, but I don't dream. Like, it's just
you do dream, Jeremy. You're not remembering your dreams. It's that's all there is to it. Okay. But actually, Guided starts out, the first chapter in Guided, there's 28 chapters in Guided. The first one starts out with the merry-go-round dream. And it's a prophetic dream about the world we find ourselves in now. It's this one dream I had for the first 35 years of my life. I couldn't stop it. I couldn't change it. And I had it every single night, and many times, multiple times per night. That's over 30,000 times in my life. Now, that is a huge message. It's called the merry-go-round dream. And in this dream, I'm on a merry-go-round at the top of a cathedral, where it's a dome ceiling at the top with the Renaissance paintings all over the inside of the dome. And I'm on a merry-go-round with everyone I know in the whole wide world. Now, I'm about 7 years old in the dream, but I have had this dream throughout my childhood and up to 35 years old. And I'll tell you what stopped it in a minute. I'm on this merry-go-round and I'm holding on, and I'm so happy. Everyone's on the merry-go-round with me, and I'm so happy they're all with me. And I love how this is playing out until the merry-go-round starts to speed up. Look at how the world is speeding up. And I'm going, I love this. And then I'm holding on with one hand, not two, riding on my horse on the merry-go-round. Now I'm holding on with one hand because it's speeding up, and I'm laying back just going, yes, it's the most fun ever. until I look around and I see everybody getting scared, giving up, and letting go. And when they let go, they hit the sidewalls of the dome and blood splatters everywhere as they scream to their death. I'm like, oh my God, what went wrong?
Wow. I mean, and you had that dream for 30 something years.
35 years. 35 years.
Which
Okay.
that right there, I mean, that would make me an insomniac. I wouldn't want to go to sleep. Like,
that's what I did. I would set the alarm. That's exactly what I did. I'd set the alarm to wake me up. So I dreaded having that. I loved it to begin with because what a great experience until these people started interpreting it wrong. That's all I could say in the dream. It didn't make sense why they did this. And I would set the alarm at like every hour to wake me up so I wouldn't have it again. Or I would try to change it. I'd think to myself, change this part. If I have it again, I don't want to see that. It would never change. It would never stop. The alarm clock didn't matter. Okay, so here's what happened. When I was 35 years old, I started taking dream classes. Hello? Like, hello, Linda, you're getting it now. And I started taking, and the dream never happened again. I'm 70. That's half my life ago that I stopped having that dream.
Which, just out of curiosity, does that kind of coincide with when you saw your guides for the second time?
35. No, I was 42 when I saw them the second time when they materialized.
Yeah.
In front of me. Okay, I've seen them in my dreams, but not when they materialize. That's a different thing. Okay, that's a pretty strong message. So anyway, what happened? I stopped having that dream because I was then. You almost had it, Jeremy. I was then on my path.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I came here, what I'm here to do. Okay, they told me in 1994 I was going to write this book. I didn't know what the book was going to be. They didn't tell me. They just told me what I told you. It's going to be about my relationship with them since I was a little girl. Okay, and that's what it was going to be about. But I didn't know what it was. 20 years later, 18 years later, I started writing guided. I didn't even know it was the book. I sat down at my computer and I just started writing about my life. And I didn't know, I never wrote about my life before. I never wrote a book before. I never did any of that. I just sat there. And again, that's how guidance works. You feel kind of like a pawn in a game. Okay. You just move into position, you feel it, and you go that way. All right. And I sat down and I just started writing about my life. And when there's 28 chapters in guided, the first chapter is a merry-go-round dream. And I started writing about my life. And when I got to chapter 9, I went, oh my God, this is the book. I had a project with my husband that I had to put the book on the side and go help him with this project. So when I had to do that, when I hit chapter 9 and I had to put the book on the back shelf, I said, I this thing. I mean, I don't know exactly what these chapters are going to be, but I totally know that this is I'm supposed to write this, the book. It was the most, I can't describe what a relief it felt to feel that, because I didn't go out looking for it. I mean, I took 18 years to sit down and start writing it. I didn't think about it. People tell you when you write a book, oh, you got to go read these books. You got to take these courses. You got to learn how to, how to pull your voice out and how to tell your story. And I didn't do any of that. The guides don't want you to interrupt what the flow is, the guidance. Just step into it. When you hear, I'll use this example. When you were a little kid, let's say 2 or 3 years old, you did things, you never thought them through. They showed up and you decided to go that way or not. It's the same exact thing in our adult life. If only we can remember what that felt like.
I mean, if you ask my wife, I still do that. But
That's a good thing.
I mean,
Where you follow your heart, Jeremy.
yep. And I mean, I do. I mean, the job I used to have, not the job I have now, because I can't do it now, but the job I used to have, I made my own hours kind of. So I used to take early days all the time for this podcast because I wanted to. I want this to grow. My dream is to one day be a podcaster and not have to worry about and make enough off it to survive and not have to worry about working a 9-to-5 job. And I mean, is it going to happen in the next 10 years? Unlikely, but maybe. I don't know. It's possible, but I mean, that's my dream.
If it's meant, here's what it is. If it's meant to happen, it will. And I know that sounds like way too surface, but that is as true as it gets.
It's actually not surface because I've had mediums and psychics on the show before tell me that. Yeah, most I know. But the psychics and mediums I had in the service before, like on the show before, have told me like, you're meant to do it. Like this podcast is your purpose in life and you will succeed if you keep at it. And the numbers don't lie. It's heading that way, but I mean, it's going to be a while. And personally, I mean, of course I got a family to support, so I need to work a 9-to-5 until that happens. But
right.
And I mean, I don't know. It's just I listen to my heart. I listen to my gut, and that's why I go by. And my gut tells me I'm doing the right thing by doing this show. I mean, 110 episodes released so far, 111 and 130 to 150 recorded at this point. Like it's just, and I might be getting on a radio station very soon, like with this podcast. And
great.
Things are going in the right direction, but it's just, I don't know. I mean, I've been told by multiple people it's the right thing to do. And when I lost my job back in February, I even had spirits and mediums, mediums and psychics I know tell me like, this is the time to focus on your podcast and start monetizing it. And I'm like, I kind of want to my gut said, no, it's not the time yet. So I kind of just said like, I don't think it's there yet. I don't I can't monetize this podcast at this point to make anything out of it. Like, and
are you still figuring it out?
The podcast or my life?
Well, they're kind of synonymous, but I'd say the podcast, since that's the focus of what we're talking about right now. But
it's funny. It's funny you say that because, I mean, I've been focusing on the paranormal now for a long time and for a year. And I've been actually contemplating lately making one, because I release twice weekly, and I've been contemplating making my midweek release something I'm going to call normal segments, where it's just life coaches, doctors, anybody with a story to tell who's just not paranormal, basically. And because I mean, I feel like I'm running out of people to talk to in the paranormal. I know I'm not, but I feel like I am, because it's just less and less people coming out there.
Here's a suggestion, because I coach people and I train people on how to do this, how to make this connection with their guides. And I mean, it works. One avenue you might want to go in is nurses. Nurses have seen so many things, you wouldn't believe it. And they don't talk about it because they're in a kind of an academic world, where it's really not okay to talk about stuff like that. Not a lot. I mean, you'll hear them talk about it some, but they don't talk about it a lot. But they see so many evident situations where people have had and where they're crossing over, and where they tell them things that they're seeing, that they're experiencing. And Jeremy, really one of the things that people are the most terrified of in this world is dying. What happens when they die? They were so worried about it. And I can only tell you, after I've had several experiences on the other side, where, especially in my dreams, getting back to dreams, where I've had them, my guides, work with me night after night after night after night in my dreams, and they pick up where they left off the night before, to keep the lessons going, to keep elevating my understanding of what's going on. And there was one time I was learning about lucid dreaming from my dream class. And I'm in a dream and I'm lucid and I know I'm in the dream. And I tell all my guides, I go, hey, I'm lucid in this dream. I can do anything I want, because that's what the teacher was explaining to us. When you're in a lucid dream, you can ask anything and get the answer, the absolute correct answer. And you can, in a dream, you can do anything. Everything's possible in a lucid dream. And they said, and I said, now I can do anything I want. And they're watching me. They're like looking at me. And they said, Linda, it's time for you to go now. And I said, no, I'm not going back. I can do anything I want. I'm not returning. I don't want to go back there. I was probably, I'm going to say 37 when that happened. And of course, what a crack up. I thought I had that power. Before I knew it, bam, I'm right back in my earth life, right? I went, oh my God. I mean, it happened instantly. Kind of looked at me like with a smile, like, you have no power over this. You go back. You're not finished yet. And I'm like, oh God, I found myself back. This is what happened when I got back. I am not a depressed person. I don't experience depression in my life. The first time I ever experienced it happened then. When I found myself back in this world, and they kind of just looked at me and boom, I was back. I went into a depression for 2 months. It was terrible. I understand what people feel like when they are depressed. I mean, I had no desire to be here at all. I can't describe just how horrible it felt. And then I guess over the couple of months, I kind of reacclimated to being here. Like, I had to be okay with all this and still be here. And I let that memory, that feeling, that moment that I had, that I felt so good on the other side, that I got more back into this world again. So that wasn't on the forefront of my mind. So my reason for bringing this up is it is so good on the other side. Oh my God. And this life is just a flash. When we get on the other side, boom, your awareness is, our awareness right now, the way we are, is probably 2% of what it is when we're not stuck in a physical body. Okay. We are totally aware. We expand. Trust me, it's nothing to be afraid of. It's fabulous. So,
oh, I believe you. I believe you. And I mean, the human brain only uses, probably, if we're lucky, 2% of its full capacity compared to but there's a reason for that. I mean, I fully believe there's a reason for that.
I'll tell you what the reason is. You would physically explode if you brought all the energy that you are into this body. It couldn't handle it. When the guides came to me in 1994, here's how they explained to me how they were able to bring themselves into this world, materialize, so I could take their photograph. And as soon as I took their photograph, they dissipated. Okay. The way they explained it to me is, in 1994, TVs had picture tubes that required high amounts of voltage.
Yep.
And my guides told me what they did is they harnessed the voltage in the chassis of the TV to project themselves into our dimension so they could be seen. That's how they did it.
Interesting.
And they said it was hard to do. They said it takes a great deal of their energy to even do that.
Makes sense. I mean, I was alive in the 90s, so I remember those TVs. We
got real hot. They were big.
We even had one when I was a kid, where you had to go up and actually physically change the channel on the TV instead of having a remote. But I mean, so I know those TVs you're talking about, and yeah, it's very true in the 90s. And so let me ask you this though. What do you think about reincarnation?
Oh, it's for sure. I've had many lifetimes come to me. Many. I had one past life regression done in 1987, 88. And I mean, when I went under, she was just learning how to do it. It was my dream teacher. And I mean, I had like 5 lifetimes just go bam, 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 just come right through. Absolutely no resistance to it. It took me the whole next day just to write in my journal about those lifetimes. So I would have that information while it was still fresh in my head. I could write it all out. It was amazing. It tied into my life so well. It cleared so many things up for me.
Which, I mean, wow. I mean, past life regression is amazing. I've had a couple of regressionists on here, and they have amazing stories to tell. I've yet to have one who said that they regressed someone who was King Arthur, which I'm waiting for. But other than that, like I was supposed to have one done by one of my guests a long time ago, but she had some family emergency and she had to back out of it like a couple weeks before, and I never got back to her. And I feel horrible because I didn't, because I want it done. Because I feel like if we know our past lives, we know what this life is supposed to be.
Well, here's what it did for me. It's not that I knew what this life was supposed to be. It did not answer that question. I knew what my life was about anyway, so that I didn't need that answer. But for me, it was about why I knew some things, why I felt the way I did deeply. It made sense to me why certain things, even a dog I had, that I knew I had a connection to from some other place, explained the whole thing. So it just answered a lot of that, where it just cleared up a lot of things like that, where how I felt about what was going on inside me started to really clear up.
Well, I mean, so maybe you don't know your current life based on that, but I mean, if you could, maybe it'll give you some clues, though. I mean, that's what I'm hoping, at least. I mean, because I'm actually working with a former guest now, Jassy Jackson, who will be coming out in June at some point for anybody watching this video and replay. But I mean, she is working with me to actually figure out my true purpose in life, and she's doing it for free, which compared to what she normally charges is a big difference. And I mean, I'm gonna advertise for her, of course, because she's helping me, but she's helped me try to figure out my true purpose in life, and
it makes sense of your life. It makes what happens when you visit those previous lifetimes. It makes sense of the life you have now. You understand why you always thought that, the way that you believed this to be true. It's not something that was stuck in your head. It's something you actually lived in another life. Okay, like me, I always felt, people would say to me, they still do. They say, Linda, you're petite. I have never felt petite. I always felt big. And that comes from previous lifetimes. It showed up in my life, in my regression. And I understood why I always felt big, although I'm not big in this, and I'm not physically big in this lifetime.
Which, that's ironic you say that, because I've always been a big guy. Like I was 400 pounds for a long time, but I've always looked down at myself, and I always felt like I was slim. Like maybe not slim, but I always felt like I was a lot less heavy than I was. And I mean, I never tried to do anything stupid because of it that like some person could do that I couldn't. But I mean, still, like I always felt like I was smaller than I am, and that's why I never took my weight as a serious issue until I was in my 30s. Because it's
that's
just
interesting.
Yeah, and like it's the synchronicity of that right there, that you feel like it was the opposite. I was like, like that kind of makes sense, because
that's interesting.
Like people, my whole life, like doctors and my parents would tell me, like, you're chubby, you're fat, you need to lose weight, and I'd be like, no, I'm not. And I'm like, I would never say it out loud, but like in my head, I'd be like, I'm not, though. I look down and I look the same every day of my life, whether I'm 200 pounds or 400 pounds. I look the same to me.
Yeah.
So I mean,
that's a bleed through.
Interesting. That's a whole thing I never thought of before, and it just blew my mind to some degree. And wow. But let's talk about your coaching a little bit, because I'm kind of curious about it, because I have friends who do mental health podcasts, and they also are starting their careers as life coaches. Shout out to Harvey Laguerre. But so who do you typically coach? Like, is it just anybody, or do you
everybody?
Or is it
I get
everybody?
people, I get wealthy people, get that can only afford 20 minutes with me, and it doesn't matter any way that they are attracted to me. And the attraction is that I don't do readings. The readings is to me, readings is nonsense. All right. Because you're gonna, once you get to know who you are, you can read for yourself. Okay. So the way I go about it, and the heart of this project is getting people to understand and remember who they are. The trauma in this world and the fear has absolutely debilitated people. It really has. And I bring them back to a place when we do these, when I do the coaching session. When I say we do these, I mean that when I use the word we, I mean, my life is a co-creation with my guides. So when I get in a coaching session with a person or a group, it's a conversation that comes through from the guides. Conversation.
Interesting. I mean,
completely.
Well, that kind of leads me to a question I kind of had actually.
But right here.
I'm sorry. You keep. Oh, there. Oh, all right. Universal.
Right there. It's called
channels that say. Or
this
universal...
is what I use to bring the guides through. And when I use this, they asked me. You can't see it because my camera's not. I moved my camera forward, so you can't see me doing it. But it moves around. Okay. And when I do this, they come through the guides and they speak directly to you. And it's a conversation that we have. So let me have them say something to you.
Oh, I love this part of the show. So please,
you want to do that?
Okay. Oh, gladly.
Okay. So Jeremy, your spirit guides and angels are here with us now. And they have been with us throughout the entire show. And I always go into this breathing before we start. And here they go. And I don't know what they're going to tell you, but they do. We understand your way of living. You will be doing way more shows. Do you mean podcasts? Yes. VE very soon. Make a big improvement on your technology. Okay. Are you doing something with your technology you're up in the game?
I mean, I thought about buying a new laptop. I thought about buying a new laptop to try to make the camera better and all that. But I mean, other than that, not, I mean.
Okay. Let them.
Yeah.
We see you changing your camera. Okay. What you envision is close, but you do not need a new computer. You need a new camera. They come through like this all the time, where they give people business advice about what to do now, what to let go of, what to start up, all the time. In fact, when I ask them questions about, okay, let me do it right here on live on camera. Okay. What's my next move in my business? We will be your next upgrade. You are moving in a way a popular venue that will change everything. Okay. I'm good with that. I've been doing some upgrades here. Quite a few upgrades, as a matter of fact. And I sometimes wonder, God, all this work and money and, all this extra work besides my work. God, you guys, cut it out. I think to myself sometimes, but then if I continue to stay with it and I'm diligent about following through on the work and where they're pointing me to go, you can't see it when you're in it, Jeremy. But you can when you're on the outside of it. You get all the work done. It's all done. And where they pointed you to go, you got it all done. And then all of a sudden, the orders come in and the invites come in and you meet new people. And it just all starts to pour in. And I think to myself when those times happen, it's a good thing I followed the guidance or I would be buried right now. That's how it works.
Interesting. Oh, leads me. I don't know if they would answer this, but is there a genre of podcast they're talking about particularly? Like that, because I've had ideas. It's just
okay. So you're still open, Jeremy.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still open about what your podcast will ultimately be?
Whether it be this one or other ones, yes.
Okay, there we go. So you're open. You're open. I'm asking you that for a reason. You have to answer me, yes or no.
Yes.
W, with your consent. Okay, no wonder I asked you that. We will wake up the viewers with a powerful question each and every episode. When we do this, okay, when we do this, did you hear that? I got to stop this for a minute. We do this. You're doing this with your guides, just like I'm doing this with my guides, except you may be taking all the credit for it. You have to stop doing that.
My guides don't communicate with me, though.
Okay, but hold on. Or the blame for it. Okay, you'll understand this later, but you think you're in this all alone. You don't hear your guides, but that doesn't mean that they're not helping you and you're moving through all this with the help of your guides. That doesn't mean that's not happening.
Interesting.
Hold on. I can feel when they want to start talking again. We are your best partners. You will even think you were the one. We think that's we think that's funny. Okay, so after a while, you know what you should do? You should get guided. You should get on the guided journey. The guided journey is free. You don't have to pay for anything. Guided, right here, the book. It's the light's kind of blinding it out there. That I can see. You can see it a little bit better right there.
Yeah.
But it's not a small book. This is not small. Okay, it's about 400 pages, but you can get the audiobook. The audiobook outsells them all. And I've got it in hardcover, paperback, Kindle, audiobook. And it's a 9.5-hour book. But I'm telling you, by the time you're done listening to the book, read the reviews first on Amazon. There's 293 reviews on it now. Read the reviews and you'll see what these people didn't just write little, oh, I couldn't put it down. No, they wrote reviews. Okay. This book changes lives. It's changed It has literally changed people's lives. So what it does is it wakes you up to what's been going on. Ever since you were a little kid, what's been going on? You start to remember it.
It's funny. It really is. I mean, because like a lot of times I do these shows. With psychics and mediums, and all people in that genre, almost, I'll say, and I get this feeling like I get very cold, and I feel like there's something around me. I don't know what it is. I've been told it's different. I've been told it's different. I've been told it's different relatives, and that, like, I feel like my dogs go crazy. That there is something besides me, and they're seeing it, and that's why they're going crazy. But personally, that's kind of why I feel like.
I'll tell you what, Jeremy. If you get on the guided journey on my website, guided journey at the top of every page, post, you click on it and you go there and you start picking out which ones resonate with you. Okay, because it's a self-directed counseling service. This guided journey of spiritual awakenings and unexpected psychology. It just wakes you up. And what it is, at the very top, it gives you the introduction into what the insight's about. And then there's a video where I'm talking about explaining this insight to people. And then below that is the guidance that came through. All the italics within the post is from the guides. It's what I channeled from the guides doing this. Okay. And then they give you the call to action at the end. And then at the very bottom, I put in how it works in your life, how I lived it, how I know how this works in your life. When you do this, the programming that you have still, from your early childhood, really, it comes from when we were so young. The programming starts to let go because you're getting answers to questions that never got answered when you were a little kid. I'm telling you, it's totally, the guided journey has over 32,000 shares.
I'll have to check it out. Check it out. I will. Yeah. I mean,
my website is lindadeir.com. That's LINDADEIR.com. And you guys, anybody who's watching this can go there and see all this.
Yes. And of course that what moves? Is there something around me like that you're seeing that I'm not? Like, God. I don't get it. But yes, and of course that link will be posted in the podcast description as well for this episode. When I drop some podcast forms, people can go right to it because I'm gonna check it out because I'm curious now. And I swear to God,
everyone in every one of the videos, you'll see me using this, talking to the guides. You'll see me using this. You'll see me in action. And by the way, this is something, this Ask the Universal channel. I'll tell you the quick story about this. I developed this. This is my product.
Oh, nice.
This is my product. I developed this. They came to me at Christmas time of 1988. The whole story is on channeledreadings.com. That's my other website, channeledreadings.com. AskTheUniversalChannel.com. Whatever one you want to use to get there. And they came to me. I had my dream teacher. And in 1988, she invited me over to her house at Christmas time. And I didn't know why. I wasn't real chummy with her. I really didn't like her too much, but she was a great teacher. Okay. And she had me over, and I didn't know why. And after we were done eating, she grabs a pad of paper out and throws a pen at me. And she goes and had the Ouija board. Okay. And said, just start writing. And so they started channeling the guides. And the guides came through and asked me, after they said many things that were going to happen over the course of the next year, including me moving from California. But they asked me, they said, we need you to help us create a talking board that does not cause fear and caution. We need this new talking board to be clean of any concepts of, good or bad or any concepts at all. And they said, we're going to come to you in your dreams and we're going to show you what this needs to look like. Now, my background is I'm an architect, a home builder, a land developer, a real estate broker, a general contractor, a subcontractor. I mean, I had all these abilities to do things, to make things happen. And as an architect, I was able to actually draw. This is hand drawn. This is not from a computer. This is hand drawn. Okay. And that was in 1988. And they asked me if I was in. And I said, after a lifetime of you helping me and guiding me, absolutely, I'm in. Okay. So by August of 1988, 8 months later, I had it all designed, done, and manufactured and ready to ship. And that was the beginning. In fact, that was 1989. We're 2023 right now. This is 34 years since this has been in existence.
And that's more synchronicity there because I was born in 88.
Is that right?
Yeah, I was born in May of 88.
Wow. What month?
May.
So this is 34 years now since I developed it. I have it on the website, on the channeledreadings.com website, in 3 different versions. This is the official version, this one, and I've got the printable version, which is exactly the same size and scale as this one. You just print it on your printer along with the speller, or you can use your own pendulum. This is designed to be optimized. This was optimized for use with a pendulum. Another feature the guides insisted on in 1989, when they first started coming to me in my dreams, showing me what this was going to look like, the way they wanted me to draw it. And so it's available in the official version, the one you can print on your computer, and the online digital version, where you use your mouse and the talking boards on the screen, and it's a different eye-hand coordination. Not everyone can do it, but I love it. I think it's great. It works for me. And then the pendulum is just, you drop it in the center and you just let it start moving to the different letters. But to me, I can do this, but this moves a lot faster for me. In fact, I really don't even need it. The communication comes right through. I call this the training wheels to learning how to bring this guidance through.
Interesting. And that's all available on your website as well, I believe. I'm assuming.
You're gonna find, if you go to About, the nav bar About, you can go down and you'll see Ask the Universal Channel. Just click on it. It'll take you right there.
Well, you hear that, listeners, and check it out. It might help you in the long run. And before we wrap it up, though, if you don't mind, two quick questions for the guides, if you don't mind. And
okay.
The first one is, are my guides with me right now? Because I feel like I'm freezing right now. Like I feel like something's right beside me and I can't see it. Whether it be
here they go.
Spirit or guide.
And why does he feel this cold feeling? Go ahead. We are always with you. Visit you in your dreams, even if you don't remember them. Okay. We understand why you do what you do. Value you more than you value yourself. You must walk with us when you unfold the UNAN, the unanswered questions you have, visit us at the time you that you think we could be there. A wonderful way to tap into the SUB, the subtle energy that walks with you everywhere. Okay, I'm going to ask them why you have these cold feelings. You think it's uninvited energy, but you are misinformed. We are your guides, and you are our work. That is our job. So what about these cold feelings? Now they're talking to me. He will understand what that is when he begins to clear his program. Clear your program.
Clear your program. That can have a lot of things.
That's up here. Clear your old thinking, your program, the things that. Okay, let's take for example, movies that you've seen. Hollywood puts things out there that are scary. They want to. Don't touch that. Don't go near them. It's all the programming and stuff. And the only reason they've done that is to keep you under control. If you find out what your real power is, they're going to lose control of you. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now, when you get on the guided journey, you're gonna run into all kinds of their input about this. Get on the guided journey. Start there.
Gonna have to, because I mean,
you're gonna love it, Jeremy. You're gonna love it. Everyone who does it, they are hooked. It's fun. This is not work. This lines right up with your playtime. And I don't mean it to sound insignificant, because it's certainly not that. But it lines up with your natural curiosity and your natural things that you've always wondered about, that you can't seem to get your answers for. That's what you're going to find.
Interesting. And this could lead to a whole new road, honestly. And that's what interests me the most. Is it's been like my life's been at like a crossroads for a long time, and it could lead me down a new road that
a lot of people have felt like that. Jeremy, you are not alone.
And the final question I had for them, because I said I had two, but the final question I had was: is podcasting the right journey? Is it the road I'm supposed to be taking?
Okay. The way I perceive that, the first thing that comes through from them is there is no one thing. There's no one thing. Okay. So rephrase the question.
am I missing a road? Am I missing the turn for a road in life right now? Am I going down the road I'm supposed to be going on?
Okay. Are you on the path? On your path?
Yeah. There you go.
Here we go. You are very close. We will guide you. You must understand what the difference is. Okay, I know what they're going to say, so I'm just going to say it to you. What they're saying, what they're intending to tell you is that you're not used to what the difference is between you and guidance coming through. Okay, you think everything you're doing is you. I said this earlier, didn't I? I said something about that. Okay, there's the guides. They're right here. These are your guides, right by your side. And then there's you. You got to remember that you're not in this alone. You get direct information and guidance from your guides. And when you feel that, you feel so good. It's like, oh my God, I finally got the answer to that. I've been waiting for that for so long. I can't believe it just came through. It didn't come from you. It came through you. And the next part of this is write it down in part 3. Write down. Part 3 is write down, and I can't really see it here because it's blinding out the pages, but my guided journey, just go to my website and go to shop and go to books and then drop down and go to my guided journey and just read about what's there. Okay. And it's about keeping track of of what's coming through. You're learning to become conscious of the guidance when it comes through. So you quit taking the credit for it or the blame. Either way, you got to remember, you got to connect with what's coming from you versus what's coming through you from your guides. It's the first thing. It's called discernment.
Interesting. And all right, so
very important, so important. And it's the first step. It's like once you start to learn the difference, at the same time while you're learning the difference, you're going to be learning something about you that is so different than the way you perceived yourself previously.
And wow. Once again, the answers that guides, spirits, whatever they want to be called, gives me leaves me more dumbfounded and trying to look for answers than the answers they give.
Okay, that happens in the beginning because you know what? Throughout when you were just a little guy, all the answers that you needed, Mom, Dad, what about this? What about you were just driving them crazy. They didn't even know the answers. Okay, they didn't get the answers. They didn't know they had help. They didn't know, So you really have to you've got to be the one that breaks the chain of ignorance, really, in your whole lineage. But you're already different, Jeremy. You're already out of the box, different. And that's good. That's a fabulous first step. You're already there. You just need to learn how to harness it now.
Yeah, and that's the difficult part is learning how to harness it. Because
no, it's not difficult. It's consistency. You get the guided journey. It's $10 on my website. You can just download it and have download it as many times as you need to, and keep this thing going. In part 3, start in part 3. I always tell everybody to start in part 3. When you read the first part of what's included, you'll find all the videos on my website where I walk you right through it for free.
Interesting. Well, unfortunately, that does wrap up our show for today. I could honestly ask the guys 1,000 more questions, but it's just I have to learn how to open my own guides. That's the bottom line here. Is I have to learn how to open my own guides and
that's right.
Listen to what they tell me to do. But before we
go, remember that you always one last caveat here. You always have free will. This is your life you're living. even if they give you, when they asked me to help to create this talking board, a talking board that did not cause fear and caution back in 1988, and I was in. I mean, why would I refuse them? I would never do that. And they asked me to do that. I could have said, no, I don't feel like doing it right now. And they still, it wouldn't mean that they'd leave me. It's just that on my journey through this life, I wouldn't get the full flavor of everything that I have to offer, me and my guides, had I not performed on this. It's just one step in the journey. Then came guided. Then came my guided journey. And I've got 3 other books. And the project, and the website, and the other website, channeled readings, and everything. Oh my God.
Well, before we
It's a
wrap
journey.
up, though, it's a journey, and I'm gonna have to start taking it, I guess. But
That's it, Jeremy. Becoming conscious of what's going on, having mastery over your life.
which I always thought I did have to some degree, but apparently I fully don't yet.
You're getting closer. You know, Jeremy, I got to tell you something. You've done the hardest part.
Curiosity sparked.
The first part is the hardest part.
And what is that?
You've done the first part. You're out in the open. You're doing this work. You're letting your curiosity drive you. That's the hardest part. You know why? Because most people are too concerned about what someone else is going to think about them.
Well, that's never been me. I've never cared what other sheep think. I've always been the wolf that wanted to take the lead and figure out his own path in life. But
well, that's the hardest part for most people, Jeremy.
well, I mean that's been me since I was a preteen. So there we go. I
don't underestimate it. Don't underestimate it, but don't cut it short. And this is the only part you ever have.
Well, to the guides, I am truly curious about what you mean by when you say more show. I'll be doing more shows soon, but I look forward to what that brings. And I'm always out there trying to get on more shows and I always have ideas for new shows and I always try to push them. So
everybody,
I'm sorry.
everybody always at the end of any session I do or whatever, they kind of think about it like what you're thinking about, the way that you're thinking about it. My advice to you is to watch yourself again.
I will.
You need to hear it again. What they said to you, the whole thing.
I will watch it again. I have to edit this anyway, so I definitely will be watching and listening to it again. And wow, freezing right now. Literally freezing right now. Like,
isn't that something? Yep, that's okay. That's okay. You know what happens to me? I get hot. I have the temperature at 71 degrees in here because I'm warm and a fan work with the guides. The heat, I just get really, really warm.
I kind of wish it went that way instead of the cold way, but I mean, either way.
Be open to things changing for you.
I mean, I am. I mean, my life just went through a tremendous change. I was working at home. I was home 24/7 basically, and now I'm back out in the work world, working in the office from 9 to 5:30, 9 to 5, whatever you want to call it. But right. I mean, change. I accept change with. I roll with it. I roll with it basically. That's the best way to put it. I roll with change. Like I don't fight it. Like I didn't only look for jobs that wanted to keep me at home. Like I looked for jobs that got me out in the world as well because I felt like there are people I need to meet. People I need to talk to that are going to affect my life in the future. And whether it's the people I call every day trying to make sales with or whatnot, all I need is that one, and they could make my life dramatically different financially, and that could make my life dramatically different every other way. So, I mean, it's a world of possibilities out there, people, and that's the bottom line of this whole episode is that it's a world of possibilities, and go with your gut. Go with what you think something is pushing you towards. Go with it.
And document your tracks. Document what's going on with you. Believe it or not, this book is called My Guided Journey, of self-discovery and personal transformation. And the part I want you to go to when you get the book, I want you to go to part 3, and it says My Journal Writing, Journey Forward, Your Roadmap to Consciousness. Part 3 is what makes you begin to become aware of what's been going on while you've been living it. Until you know that, you won't be sure-footed going forward.
Well, tell my listeners one more time, because that's a good place to end it. But tell my listeners one more time where they can find you, all your websites. Just self-promote to the fullest.
Yeah, it's Linda Deir, and you can see my name right there on the screen, lindadeir.com. That's my website. Go to my website, and if you want to learn about what the tool I use to talk with the guides, to communicate with them, then go to the nav bar that says About, and just go down about 4 down, and you're going to see Ask the Universal Channel. That'll take you to my other website called Channeled Readings. And this is 34 years old now, since I developed this, since it's been in existence. And I even had, this is a fun little story I'll tell you. You can go there and find out about the story. It says right there on the homepage, the story of Ask the Universal Channel. It'll take you there and explain the whole thing to you. There's a guy in Texas. As soon as I brought this, this became available for purchase in 1989. I had a guy in Texas contact me. I was in California at the time. And he said, I just bought your Ask the Universal Channel talking board. He goes, and I had a guide come through by the name of, and he gave me the name. I said, spell it. He spelled it. And that is my primary name. In fact, the name guides. Okay. He gave me the name of my guide, and I went, oh my God. And so I channeled the guides, and I said, why is it okay? I mean, how does that work where they come through? Do you come through for other people too? Are you cheating on me? I'm joking. Okay. What, you go and you spend your time with other people too instead of, I thought you were, how about, okay. So the whole point is your guide has a big job. They have all kinds of different people that they guide through their lives. Okay. Not just you. So that's important to remember. I didn't even understand that at that time until I got that phone call from that guy. It was the craziest thing. Okay. But it's what I needed to know. All these things come through when you need to know them.
Exactly. And I believe in fate, and I believe in things happening for a reason. So I will 100% be looking into this myself, but all my listeners know where they can find me. Listen to the outro at the end if you really need to hear it again. But all my listeners who are truly devoted know where they can find me already. And tell your friend about the podcast. Like and subscribe wherever you're listening. YouTube, Spotify, Good Pods. Take your pick. We're on every podcatcher out. We're on every podcatcher out there. And then probably something you haven't heard about. But we're out there for all of it. So until then, though, I want to thank Linda for coming on, because it's been a truly mind-blowing episode, and I can't wait for this to release. And by the time my listeners hear this, it'll probably be July. But still, stay cool and enjoy this episode in your nice AC car, please, on your way to work or something. So,
all right, Jeremy.
But until next time, we're going to thank Linda one last time and say, have a good one, listeners. And hopefully by the time you listen to this, I have a lot more in the works, which I have things in the works, but there'll be a lot more in the works by then, hopefully. Have a good night, everybody. And see you in half a week, listeners.